tuned into the underground. My name is Mbaya. I go by the doctor. If you are not subscribed yet, you need to do that ASAP, because today I will be demonstrating a low drop fade with kind of a slight shadow going for it. Of course, this will be a full length haircut. It's gonna run about 20 plus minutes. I'm going to make sure that I make it worth your while. So definitely stay tuned until the end, because it is very much so well worth it. I will be using all Stylecraft tools, and of course Gamma Plus. It's all the same at the end of the day. You know how we rock this way though. That's my people. Yeah, let's get into this. So I'm going to start off by creating the bald guideline, setting in that guideline at the lowest point. I'm going to show you by putting a harsh line straight at the hair. This is something I don't recommend. I'm only showing you this guideline point just for demonstration purposes. But if you do create your bald guideline, do it like this. Go under. The reason I want you to do it this way is because you create a softer line by going this way with your blade. If you go the other way, like when I created the guideline the first time, you will create a harsh line, which will be difficult to remove if you don't have the proper tools or skill set to remove or erase that line. So by going right underneath the way I am, I'm actually manipulating that guideline that I created, that harsh guideline, by softening up the guide. I was slightly stretching at the skin a little bit too, just to kind of get right underneath that real clean and removed everything. So that way, when it comes down to blending, I don't have a hard time. I don't have a difficult time removing the harsh guideline. You can go for it if you feel confident. If you don't, I recommend that you go under the same way that I am demonstrating, like this, with your haircut. Regardless to whatever texture, don't put that harsh line if you don't feel confident, because that's one thing a lot of people find themselves doing, is the harsh line without even thinking. But as I am creating this guideline, I am going at it with the corner first and keeping it real loose, super loose, to the point where it almost feels as if you only have your fingertips on the trimmer. Keep your hand like jelly. Each motion should be very fluid, to the point where your client should not get any irritation, discomfort whatsoever. The only thing that should be happening with them is they should probably just be getting a little sleepy, because the trimmer should never be a violent act when you're applying blade to skin. Same with clippers. Just make it a habit to be fluid with your tools. It's not something you should be heavy-handed with. I know some of you barbers, or just a lot of stylists, you can be very heavy-handed. Try your best not to be, because it's all about cutting hair. For example, in this case, we're cutting hair, not skin. So when you're applying specifically that guide blade, that fixed blade onto the skin, make sure it's with little minimal pressure. And right underneath the bald guideline, after everything's been removed completely to the trimmer's full capability, go right underneath with the shaver. So I'm using my Stylecraft Rebel shaver. This thing's a beast. Best shaver in the game, hands down. If you don't have one, you need to add this to your starting lineup ASAP. Thing is a monster. It gets everything in sight. It probably has topped my finale shaver, in my opinion. I mean, this thing is just wow, really amazing. Okay, so moving forward, I'm going to bring this in a little bit so you can see what's going on. I'm going to pretty much go up about an inch, so right about there. And all hair doesn't do this. I'm just kind of demonstrating where I want you to be able to put the guide. So with the clipper lever all the way open, going in with my Stylecraft Rebel, go up about an inch, of course. This is the second guideline, clipper lever open. When I'm creating my guidelines, I always go in with the clipper lever open. unless you have to improvise, because remember, I say this all the time, there's particular details each individual has customized specifically to their head shape and texture. So don't take anyone's word verbatim for how they do each haircut. Now I'm going to switch over to my number 1 guard. Of course, clipper lever open, going up about an inch, and as you can see, the guidelines are all focused in a specific area. These are what you call reference points. So with the lowest point, it goes towards the corner of the eye. The second guideline, it goes to the eyebrow. The third one, which I'm working on now, is in the middle of the head, which is pretty much from the temple, which is at the bottom of the vertical bar, which points directly in the middle of the forehead. Most people's vertical bars usually completely, almost always, point at the middle of the forehead. Now going back in with my 1 guard, I close the clipper lever halfway, of course, and I'm going to close it completely. Now we're starting to get into the blending and start to erase those lines that were created. So very simple. All you got to do is open, close halfway, close all the way completely, then go in between those spaces on the lever that you did not use. Simple as that. That is blending 101. If that's not clear, you need to start practicing that today, ASAP. Seems like a super long process, but it's definitely well worth it. Now with the 0 guard, clipper lever all the way open, you go ahead and start working into that guideline, soften it up just a little bit more. Make sure you take your time, don't rush. Like I said, this seems like a super long process, but I literally got to hit you with the cliche. Trust in the process. Now with the clipper lever closed halfway, keep on working at it. Immediately right after you soften this up completely, close the lever. Do not rush this process. If you want to achieve blurry blends, focus up and make sure you're using those corners. It's about the corners. Just in case you're wondering if you should be using the corners all the time, it's all about the corners. Whenever you're going at these haircuts, always focus up on the corner of that clipper blade. It doesn't matter whether you have a clipper comb attachment or guard, whatever you want to call it, but you always got to do that. Now with the no guard, going in with the lever all the way open, of course going at it with the corners only. Now I know you're wondering, you already created your half. Yeah, sure, but my guy likes to have this kind of like a shadow fade. It's a low drop fade, but there's a little bit of a shadow, so we kind of bring it up pretty high, so it kind of gives off that shadow effect. So we got to just kind of smooth out that transition, which I will come back to, but now I'm going to start working on that last line, which is right before the bald guideline. And as you can see, I'm working that lever, softening it up just a little bit. And before I close the lever all the way, I'm going to slightly close it, not all the way. Keep on softening it up. There's no rush. And after that's softened up just the right amount, I go ahead and close it all the way and remove it completely. It won't be gone all the way, so details really matter. This is a slow process that you should never be rushing. This is where stretching comes in. Go in with that corner, of course. It's all about that corner. When it comes to making sure that you produce quality, take your time. There's no rush. Real simple stuff. Yep, that's right. It's all about how you hold the clipper. And what I like about the Rebel, it has these spaces for your fingers. It helps keep your hand loose, keeping everything ergonomically friendly, which I appreciate a lot. So for me, the Rebel is a must-have. If you don't have this in your arsenal, in your starting lineup, I use the Rebel a lot. This thing is definitely worth every penny, no exaggeration. I guarantee if you do purchase you one, you will be making flawless, clean blends. Up next, I'm going to bring my little trusty 0.5. This is the Wall 0.5 guard. This thing definitely will come on in there and make sure everything is completely gone. It will work all its magic, and all you gotta do is take your time. You can open the lever all the way and slowly start to close the lever. As you can see, I'm slowly closing, using every click, every spot in that lever, making sure that as I go higher into the fade, everything is transitioning very smoothly. But remember to be the judge of what you're cutting based on the haircut style. Now that that blend is completed, I'm going to go in with my number 1 guard again. This time we're going to start cutting the top down and just smooth it out a little bit, and make sure I start off with the clipper lever open, of course, then I slowly start to close it. When I'm around the crown area, I usually treat it as if everyone's a waiver, because that crown area is very sensitive for everybody. That can be one of the weirdest spots when you are wearing your haircut low. It can be very exposed, and I just follow the flow of the hair, making sure that everything is cut perfect. And I'm slightly keeping the lever open just a little bit. It's in the middle right now. It's not completely closed, because as I go over the front, he has a funny lineup, which I like to manipulate by keeping just enough like overhang. That overhang is something that I manipulate so that when it comes to that line, I help it achieve a 3D look, which looks enhanced. So now I got it closed all the way, and I'm feeling confident with how much hair I left in the front. But as I go towards that front, I'm not really cutting anything. I'm keeping that. I'm just going right over it. You know, it's looking as if I'm cutting the front part, but I did cut that front part with the clipper lever open halfway in the middle, because I don't want to cut that hair off. And if you haven't seen me do this technique before, I usually do it this way because I like to go for a particular look. So this manipulation literally comes all the way down to even how I create my guidelines. I avoid cutting a lot of that hair towards the front part of the line intentionally. Everything that I do is very intentional because of how I want my lineup specifically to turn out. Everyone loves the way that I customize their line to their head. They appreciate it. I know this technique is definitely frowned on by some because they think that it doesn't grow back properly, but obviously that's just not the case. It's just skill and technique. On top of that, what's really more funny yet satisfying is when my clients return and they tell me about how they went out and all their friends thought that their haircut was enhanced. You know, so like as you can see towards the front, my guy in the middle has like a weird widow's peak type thing. It's just spots and spaces. You know, even the corner parts of his hairline look like they're thinning, but that's pretty much just the head shape that he has. Some people tend to have these dips in the sides of their forehead. We all have this front part. Our cranium sticks out. Then we tend to have these dips, 2 dips on each side. It's not noticeable, but when it's pointed out, we all have them, literally. Everybody doesn't have that straight across perfect forehead, you know? So literally, hey, look, that's just an imperfection some people have. It's an abnormality. If you don't know what that is, do your homework. We all have abnormalities that are not perfect about our hair. So now that the blend is all the way completed, everything is fresh, prepped, and ready to go for a clean line. I'm just showing you what the sides look like, making sure that you see what's going on. That's why I was saying my guy has some imperfections, which I'm going to do my best for him and make sure that that line is perfect. So of course there's a little bit of overcorrecting that I will be doing, but before I even jump into any of that, I have to make sure that everything is completely ready for that line, because I always say, which this is like really crazy, the blend can suck, but the lineup better come clean. I'm talking about you better be on point with the lineup. That will make anybody's, whole facial feature or just their appearance be the worst. And that would be a tragedy. Literally, it's tragic. Bad lineups are not it. So yeah, going in with my protege trimmer, working my way out from the middle, of course, making sure you follow the curvature of the forehead is important, y'all. So that's exactly what I'm doing, is I'm taking my time. For the most part, by the way, this haircut's been done in real time. This is all real time. I'm not speeding it up too much at all, only where necessary, but literally, this is real time. Taking your time is key. You never rush the lineup process, especially. And this day was pretty warm, so I do have the fan going for my guy. He has a little bit of moisture on his skin right now, which is cool. I was working with it. It is what it is. I couldn't really help it. The AC wasn't really doing too much for my guy, but he also just has a naturally oily skin. So at the end of the day, hey, it is what it is. And that's me trying to move the fan in the back, just making sure that my guy can feel it. Now that we have that straightaway lineup in the front forehead established, I'm going to go ahead and slowly work my way into the vertical bars, taking my time with it, switching hands. I'm going in with the left, making sure that that thing is symmetrical and angled just right. And of course, whatever that clipper left behind, which was intentionally left behind, is being manipulated just right. The trimmer is doing its thing. And I'm going to make sure that before I move over to the C cup, I make sure that the vertical bar on the other opposite side is also set in, so that way I don't have any off mistakes or anything like that, because when it comes to this type of hair texture, you can't be having anything off. That's with any haircut, really, any hair texture. But with my guy, he has a very particular type of hair, which in the front, a lot of people that have this little textured baby hair that most like to save, some people just want them cut out or cut into. You don't gotta save nothing. Waivers like those hairs for some reason, and some people just want to get rid of them completely. That little baby hair, as you age, definitely goes away, and it's not the same as when you're younger. When you're younger, it almost also is an indication of you going to be bald sooner or later. I know that was a little forward, but just being brutally honest. Just people want a fresh line, and in this case, he has a funny hairline in the front, but this little hair, and on top of that, with the manipulation of how you angle your blade, how you hold it by using finger placement properly. As you can see, I was pointing out my knuckles, which is all about knuckles and the back of your hands, your fingers, what you place those on the skin or the face with the facial features such as the cheekbone, the eye socket, the inner part of the eye socket, and the top part of the eye socket. So we're talking about the top part of the eyebrow, lower bottom of the eyebrow. Manipulate your finger placement. Don't ever cheat yourself from having a symmetrical line. And for me, what I usually do when I'm setting in the line is all about the corners, just like when I'm blending, when I am using the blades on the clipper. It's the same way that I do with the lineup. I use corners only. You will almost never see me use the complete blade or flat blade ever. It's all about how you rock back and forth with those corners. So check me out as I get this lineup on the opposite side, for the C cup. Finger placement, very important. Those two knuckles should always almost be on top, one right on top of the other, you know, so like the index finger knuckle should be on top of the eye socket, and the middle finger should be at the lower bottom part of the eye socket. And when it comes to the C cup, that cheekbone is key. Use your knuckle placement. The back of your fingers is what's going to help you manipulate that line. So now that everything's pretty much set in and established, you can definitely see now with the manipulation of the line that that thing is starting to really pop. I'm taking my time, making sure I'm molding everything, not rushing the process at all. And the hair on this side flows the best. It's the easiest side to cut. This is most people's good side. So I'm slightly stretching at the skin as I am placing my thumb on the forehead, making sure I stretch it and making sure I set in that curve, that C cup, using my corners only, of course, no rushing, taking my time. I'm making sure that I'm checking on the other side as well as I do this to make sure that everything is going in place just right. Now with my thumb, I'm definitely giving that a little stretch on that top part of the eyebrow, just stretching the skin as I dig into that curve, making sure that it's set in just right. And his hair texture is actually fun to cut. It's very easy, very straightforward. You find a lot of people that have this hair texture to always have some of the best lineup as far as how you end up having them turn out. So, and as I say before, a lot of the manipulation of how I blended this, avoiding cutting a lot of that hair in the front, is what helps with this look. Most of all my haircuts, I do this, and everybody tends to love it. When you're seeing this on film, it's a completely different look versus what you see in the reality in real life with the naked eye. The camera always catches something different, but all I'm saying is, hey, take these notes, apply them to your skill set. I'm hoping that a lot of what you watched in this video was helpful, and as this comes to an end, please subscribe to this channel, leave a comment below. If you know anybody that may find this informative, definitely share it to them. If you could tag them in the video, however way that works, do that. But definitely share this video. I am going to make sure that I keep videos like this consistent with many different kinds of hair textures. I am hoping that one day more people start to engage and actually ask questions in the comment sections. I know you're watching, but I need you to engage. I need you to interact. I need you to support this channel. If you want to see me do more work, interact with me, talk to me, because a lot of these skills, a lot of these things that I am doing, this isn't just something you just are going to find on other platforms. You need to make sure that you're asking questions. If you don't feel like asking me questions on these comment sections on these videos, hey, look, get in touch with me on my other platforms. I am on Facebook, IG, TikTok, Threads, whatever you name it, I got you. Hit me up with a DM, hit me up with a message. I will be more than glad to help answer the question, whatever it is. One thing I always tell people is I'm very transparent. I don't know it all. I know just enough to my knowledge, because I am a very big fan of this. I am a student at this as well. Just like everyone else, we want to get better. We want to be the best. We want to be the so-called GOAT, but this takes time. This haircut is literally about a 30-minute haircut. And just to make sure that everything I did I was able to show you in full without any gimmicks or how you say edit cuts, which I'm not a big fan of edit cuts. That's why, like I said, I play this in real time so you can see me do everything. And not only did I speed it up on a few spots, kind of like right now, this is sped up, of course, you know, but I just want you to be able to see what I'm doing. That's why I don't do edit cuts. I'm not a big fan, because I need people to see that this is what's really going down here. This is what's happening for real. Like, you know, and this is just something that I do to save myself, you know, paper towels and stuff like that. I never throw away or toss the neck strip. I always keep the neck strip, so just in case I have to wipe off certain things, let's say there was a little minor cut, or if there was like a individual that doesn't want certain astringents such as alcohol or cologne or how you say aftershave applied to them in certain areas. For example, spraying alcohol on somebody that has a beard is not ideal. They definitely don't even want this, so why not put it on a little, you know, paper tissue towel, like, you know, in this case the neck strip, and you just tap at their skin. You don't wipe, because when you wipe, that almost irritates the skin. Just in case you didn't know, that's why things such as the Gamma Evo Nano Mister are very important to have, because it's a very good way of applying alcohol. Yes, you can spray it out of a bottle, sure, but you don't want to have anything touching the skin or going onto the skin other than the astringent itself, because if it's not alcohol or aftershave, it's going to be, you know, irritating to the skin. Like, some people tend to scratch during their haircuts, which I always recommend that you don't allow anybody to scratch any surface that has been cut during their haircut, because their fingernails holds a lot of dirt and just junk from who knows what doorknob they touched, and then they touch an open wound that's been cut by a blade from a clipper or trimmer, let alone a razor, a shaver. That's not a good thing at all. So yeah, but as you can see, this thing is fresh. That thing is on point. You see that line? So hey, take your time. Don't rush. This is the quality that I'm talking about. If you want to get paid, you want to see that money, take your time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love doing lineups, yo. It's nothing like a fresh line. That's where I started doing haircuts with. It was lineups. I remember it like it was yesterday, yo. 12 years old. About 13, I got my first Andes tee. It all started with an Andes tee. That's why my intro goes the way it goes. So yeah, but y'all stick around for the journey. Stay tuned for more. I'm just getting started. Catch you on the next one.